Hello, welcome to A Layman Looks at the Word with Hal Richardson. We're continuing with our study of Revelations of Revelation. This is Lesson 5 in the series. We were in Revelation 6, and we've covered the first 5 seals. The 4 horsemen are off and riding, and also we saw the souls underneath the altar. I need to insert a note here in this series before we continue. Since I wrote this blog, President Donald John Trump has been elected by a great margin of votes, won all the swing states. He made many promises and is acting on them aggressively. In the first week, he signed 600 executive orders. He has rounded up 7,500 illegal immigrants for deportation, many being criminals, and they are being deported. The dark left is in a panic. The USA and the world are rapidly changing for the better. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil." Our previous administration had gone very dark and were anti-God and anti-America, anti-children. I felt that the turmoil of which our country and the world was in was hastening the return of Jesus very soon. But now I see a reprieve that President Trump is once again in charge as the 47th president. In Daniel 2:21, it says that God changes the times and removes and places kings. I know that Donald Trump is president and not king, but he is the leader of the most powerful, influential nation in the world. God is giving us a chance to make things better and freedom to continue to have free speech in our Christian faith. The rapture will come when God is ready. Continuing now in Revelation 6:12, "And I beheld, and he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand?" As I have said earlier, Revelation has some things in it that aren't in order. We will see some of those things shortly. Some of the things we see here on the 6th seal, we have seen tetrads of 2 blood moons and a solar eclipse and 2 more blood moons happening on the Jewish feast days, the most recent around 1948 when Israel became a nation, and 1967 when Israel got back to Temple Mount. There has been several large earthquakes, and the amount increases more every year, but none like it mentions here, so this has to be part of the tribulation as well. In Revelation 7, there's 144,000 Jews picked by God from each of the 12 tribes of Israel that know Jesus as the Messiah. They may have already been picked, but none is working as worldwide evangelists that the Bible speaks of. These will preach the gospel of Jesus to the world after the church is raptured. I do not want to be a date setter, but it seems that God is giving us a chance to bring the gospel in a greater way than we have in the past. Jonathan Cahn, who is a Messianic Jewish rabbi, has shown in his book, The Harbinger, that President Trump is following the type of Jehu in the Bible. Jehu was anointed by the prophet sent by Elisha and became the king of Israel and cleaned up all the corruption of Israel and Judah that had been caused by Ahab and Jezebel. In Revelation 8, there's the 7th seal opened, but then it starts with the trumpets and the series of 7 trumpets. When the 7th seal is opened, the silence in heaven for half an hour is one of the mysteries of Revelation. It's a time of awe and possibly anticipation of what God's going to do next. Revelation 8:7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up. All the green grass was burnt up. The third of the world's grass and trees was fulfilled in World War I in Europe. The waste and destruction of so much fertile land is still not returned to the lustness that it once was. It took over 100 years for much of the war destruction to be starting to be reclaimed by nature. Revelation 8:8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. And a third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third part of the ships were destroyed. The great burning mountain was fulfilled in the atomic age and the hydrogen bomb tests in the Pacific. The third part of the ships destroyed, which includes fish that can't be counted, happened in World War II, according to the records of the ships of the world sunk during this war, civilian and military. Here's a map of all the ships sunk in World War II. And if you look at the totals, you can look them up on the internet. It's 1/3 of the world's ships were sunk in World War II. Revelation 8:10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell on a third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. The word wormwood in Russian is Chernobyl. The radiation leaks there is still out of control. On April 26, 1986, the number 4 RBMK reactor at the nuclear power plant of Chernobyl, Ukraine, went out of control during a test at low power, leading to an explosion and fire that demolished the reactor building and released large amounts of radiation into the atmosphere. That's according to the Internal Atomic Energy Agency. But it still is not habitable there. And the Fukushima nuclear accident was a major nuclear accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Okuma, Fukushima, Japan, which began on March 2011. And that's from Wikipedia. The radiation from these two sites, as well as other radiation that we've placed in the ocean and we've dumped in the ocean or we've buried or put it in the air, has caused radioactive contamination of all of the Earth's oceans. Also, the waters in Ukraine and elsewhere are contaminated. When I was a boy, I had no idea that we would have such a shortage of fresh water and would have to get filtered water or bottled water to drink. This may not be the total fulfillment of this prophecy of wormwood, but it's a big part of it. Revelation 8:12. And the fourth angel sounded, and a third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars, so as a third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld, and I heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. Irvin Baxter thought this was when Saddam Hussein set all of the oil wells on fire in the Gulf War in Kuwait. Over 700 facilities and wells. That was horrendous. And for hundreds of miles around this area, the sun was blackened out by the smoke of the fires that burned for 10 months in 1991. This might be a partial fulfillment of this scripture, but there will be more to come. With the increase of earthquakes, it may be volcanoes. The ash cloud of Mount St. Helens spread over the United States and then to many parts of the world. You can see from our studies that what I've said is true, that not all revelation is in right chronological order. We see here that some of the trumpets have already happened, or at least it could have been by the things that were reported. It fulfills those prophecies. There's a lot to happen during the tribulation as well, and some of the parts here that we've seen from Revelation 6 to 8 have definitely been in the tribulation. But even so, they are going to happen, even though some of them may have already happened already. They may just be preludes to what's going to happen. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to close there for today. I've given you enough to think about. Jesus is the center of the Bible and the center of all. He's going to rescue us. He's going to bring judgment on the earth, and he's going to bring us back with him at the end. That's all written. Because we see things happening, it just means that his return is closer. If you don't know him, ask him in your life today and become part of God's family. He will forgive you of your sin and allow you to let his Spirit move inside you. This is Hal Richardson. You join me next time and we'll be continuing with our revelations of Revelation. Bye for now.